The Power of Authority, Milgram's Experiment, Sociology 100 by Leska Prokopets. Here are the 10 facts. Stanley Milgram, a Yale psychologist, conducted a research on obedience. Through this experiment, Stanley Milgram attempted to explain how Hitler's power of authority forced German officer corps and SS men to follow orders without hesitation, while annihilating Jews, Gypsies, Slavs, and other people who were considered inferior and less fit in the society. Milgram conducted an experiment in a psychology laboratory where two people were assigned roles as a learner and a teacher. The learner, a paid actor, sat in an electric chair and received an electric shock for each incorrect answer. The teacher, who was the real subject, was responsible for shocking the learner, which started at 45 volts, and had to increase the punishment for each incorrect answer by 15 volts, and all the way up to 450 volts. The first experiment results with Yale undergraduates. 25 out of 40 subjects, teachers, obeyed orders and punished the learner to the highest degree of 450 volts, showing that 60% of students fully obeyed the experimenter. This study, however, was later dismissed because the research reasoned that Yale undergrads are highly aggressive and competitive to begin with, making this data invalid. The second experiment allowed the teacher to select the shock level on each trials while following an order from the lowest, medium, and then high shock. Results: 3 out of 40 didn't go beyond the lowest point. 28 out of 40 went no higher than 75 volts. 38 didn't go beyond 150 volts. However, there were two teachers who reached 325 and 450 volts. The second experiment supports an idea that teachers who shocked the learners at the highest levels came from a sadistic fringe of society. By the third experiment, in which the experimenter was present, Milgram noticed how the teachers became pleased to follow experimenters' orders. Milgram observed how obedience to authority disengages a person from himself by making them a tool or an instrument that follows authority's wishes and plans. Milgram and his colleagues gave three explanations for a person's disengagement from himself. Experimenter's physical presence was one of them. The second was conflicting authority neutralizes action, and a third was majority of the group influences a person's decision. The study was repeated also 50 years later, and it was found that people still obey authority or experimenter at the same rate as the subject in the 1963 Milgram experiment. Here are a few thoughts of UC Berkeley psychologist. Diana Baumrind is convinced that Stanley Milgram manipulated his subjects to obey authority on purpose by placing them in an enclosed environment that resembles a clinician's office, such as physicians or psychologists, in order to gain their trust. Even though Milgram states in his reports that a friendly reconciliation was arranged, an effort was made to reduce any tension from the experiment. Baumrind continues to believe that the damage under such conditions has been done already and the consequences are irreversible. Baumrind is convinced that the consequences of Milgram's experiment harm an individual's self-esteem and causes him or her to distrust people around them, especially those in authority who are supposed to protect and help. She believes that it is important to inform the subjects of all possible outcomes that may result from participating in any study. This poses a question, though. If participants in the study know everything about the experiment, could the collected data be valid? And so here's a mini quiz for you. The first multiple choice question is, who were the subjects of the Milgram's experiment? A. Nazis. B. Men and boys. C. Teachers. D. Men and women. The second multiple choice question is, what voltage was marked on the machine? Marked from lowest to highest. A. 15 volts through 450 volts. B. 30 volts through 325 volts. C. 15 volts through 325 volts. And D. 30 volts through 450 volts. And the last multiple choice question is, what was the purpose of Milgram's experiment? A. To discover the percentage of sadistic and evil people. B. To see how far people will go even if something goes against their belief. C. To observe the person's reactions when they're obedient to an authority. Or D. All of the above. And the last question of this mini quiz is actually an essay question. Do you believe that certain ethics have been violated during the Milgram's experiment? Also, provide an example. Hope you enjoyed my presentation.